Well, welcome to Cloud.Nine on ACTN. Special presentation for you today. The last time I was in this office with the chairman of the Penal Debe Regional Corporation, Mr. Alan Sami, we were not able to sit how we're sitting now. This was with the passage of Tropical Storm Brett. Because there were just hampers upon hampers upon hampers. We had to maneuver our way through the hampers. Yeah, that's how bad it was. And this was just a few months ago. This area has not been able to recover since that. And now another situation has come upon us with intense flooding over the past week. And not only impacted this region, but in several parts of Trinidad and Tobago. But we return today to speak to the chairman about what's been happening, the recovery efforts, how people have been grappling. As I said, some people, I'm sure, have not been able to recover since Brett just a few months ago, and now this and takes place. So it has really been a challenging time for the people of the Penal Debe and environs, because it's a very broad area in terms of if you look at the boundaries. So once again, Mr. Sami, thank you very much for accommodating us.
It's my pleasure.
As I said, at least we could walk now in your office and we could, pull two chairs and sit down a little comfortable, because that wasn't the case. But comfort is not something that you nor your staff nor the residents or the those in the area have been able to utter or experience in the last few months. It's like one, and just as they probably now getting back on their feet, they got knocked off their feet again. Tell us what's been happening over the last few months and what has been happening as well over the last few days with the flooding recently.
Well, first, let me thank you for interviewing me. It's always a pleasure speaking to your TV audience. The hampers are still coming in, but I've directed them to the back office. So they're coming, and we are hoping that people will continue to be generous and to continue to donate dry goods and mattresses and towels and comfort products for ladies and anything like that. We welcome those donations because the need there is even greater than Brett.
Which is interesting, because people might have assumed that with Brett it may have been worse, but you're saying with this flooding.
Yeah, what Brett did, of course, is also remove rooftops and topple trees. The difference with this one is the number of homes have flooded. Our last time was 695 or thereabouts, official reports. We are probably close to that already, and people are coming in on a daily basis. So I'm sure that by the time we are done, we're going to get 1,000 reports of flooding. And some of it has been extremely severe, as you probably know, in the Woodland area. There are homes that are still flooded. We have put things in place to help people clean, but we couldn't clean. So, for example, we were in the district on the foothills of the Southern Range, for people who don't know here, which is the Penal Rock Road area, in 2 traces there. And we actually had CPEP helping us, and they had to leave because rain had started to fall again and the water had started to rise. And we have had other people who are attempting to clean and they can't. In the higher areas, people are cleaning and have cleaned, but certainly in some areas they still cannot go in to help at all because there is water in the yard and there is still water in the houses. So it's bad in that regard. It's at about 6 days now and it's still not gone down in the Woodland area and parts of Barrackpore.
In terms of the losses, what are some of the major losses that your team would have seen while touring these areas and assisting?
What we have seen, all the household appliances that you'd normally have in a downstairs place,
Cool.
they're gone. So we turn stoves, fridges, washing machines, TVs, wherever there is comfort. Because what people have done over time, simply because there's not been land for housing in the Penal de Bay, at least the state lands, people have now built under their parents' homes. So they are full apartments where the second generation is living. So they have lost tremendously. And all the other things, beds, bed sheets, mattresses, the whole works, they have been lost.
And what you find now, which we'll get into a bit later, is that many of these, when because of different challenges, people have now they will take the risk and they say they will build on their parents' home, and sometimes that's at sea level sometimes. And then you have, when these things are,
It might be useful to give you a geographical context.
Sure,
we are 246 square kilometers. We are not large. But of that 246, about 80 or so square kilometers lie in the Orpooch drainage basin. So people say, well, why are you building in the lagoon? Now, I say there are 2 reasons. One is that you have no choice. What do I mean? I mean that, again, historically, the state has not had housing estates in the Penal de Bay region. They've had in the Picton area and so on over the past 10, 15 years. But as part of state policy to assist people in Penal de Bay with housing estates and land for housing, that has not been happening. So people therefore resort to what they have. A lot of people have bought 5-acre parcels or even have inherited it through indentureship. And what they have done therefore is they have subdivided their land because they can't afford land outside of the Penal area or in any area. I mean, one lot of land now is anything like $500,000 to $750,000 anywhere in Trinidad, unfortunately. And even middle-income people cannot afford those lands. So what they do is their father will say, well, look, I have this 5 acres of land, backfill that piece and you live there. And a lot of people have done that. And you have the accusation, well, they have a choice. But what's the choice? And we don't normally deal with reality when you have planners up in Port of Spain, as I like to say. And the reality is you just don't have a choice. So you have, therefore, a lot of people squatting. I know there are people who squat and they take advantage of the system, but a lot of the squatters have no choice also. No choice. I'm not making an excuse for them. I'm not saying squatters must go in anybody's lands, but I am saying that's our reality. So from a policy point of view, that's what we have to deal with. In the case of Penal de Bay, people have backfilled, yes, in some instances indiscriminately. So they have contributed. And people who throw things in the environment, they too have contributed. But I want to point out that they are minor compared to what the major issues are. The major issues are that the Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Agriculture have not been cleaning their water courses. And those are the major water courses. So if you don't clean your water courses, naturally it's going to impact on the whole drainage system and the network of drainage in the Penal de Bay region. And that is what has happened. So Penal de Bay will clean their roadside drains, which is their responsibility. But when you have water going through these drainage courses, these water courses that belong to other ministries, and they don't clean theirs, then naturally the flooding is going to get worse and worse.
Now, in hindsight of things, we can't necessarily reverse the tide, but we could stem the tide in terms of where do we go from here, right? Because the one thing that, once somebody made a statement and it may come across as though lighthearted, they said, category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 storm, but if a kitten comes in Trinidad, we flood out into just rainfall. Now, people might laugh at that, but that's a serious thing, because it means to say that what has been happening over the decades, because you have, as you mentioned, there's housing not being made available in terms of the procedure seems to be very, very long. On top of that, you have many buildings going up with illegal building codes, which is affecting the drainage. We were discussing that this morning, and when you do that now, you affect the flow of the water course and different things. So it's a myriad of issues, and as I said, the dumping of rubbish is one thing, and I have spoken very openly about that, but it's a holistic effort. In terms of the corporation, I'm saying this in terms of, and I'm speaking here in even the last 30 years or so, Mr. Sami, what has been, in terms of dialogue and consultation, what has been on the lips of the policymakers in addressing the issue of illegal buildings and the drainage, and what has been the discussion? Because at the end of the day, the talk shop must come to a stop. The shop must close at some point.
Yes.
And you go out and, as I say, get new stock and get new supplies to bring. We can't just be talking, because at the end of the day, people are going to still be living in fear every time rain falls. And if a hurricane only hits Trinidad, Mr. Sami, we're going to be flat.
All right, let me address that. There are two ways to deal with it, the long term and the short term. Let me deal with the short term first. You're asking the question about what are we doing, meaning as penal debate, about illegal buildings.
Yes, that's just one aspect. Yes.
Okay, let me deal with that. We have a procedure in law that we must follow. You do what is called a show cause notice, which is served by the building inspector. Show cause why you are building this, because you have not submitted your plans for approval.
Right.
So you're building illegally.
That's like businesses and so on.
Everybody, even single family residential.
Right.
People then have 2 weeks to show cause. While you are waiting for that response, they continue to build. So, but legally you have to give them the space to show cause. So you go back now and say, listen, you are continuing to build, I've issued a show cause. So I'm going to issue a stop work. That's the second legal step you need to follow. So you issue the stop work, and that you give them a period of time again. But meanwhile, they continue to build. They may have finished their building by that time. Now we are following the legal steps.
You said that.
But what is the flaw in that is that has to be changed. In other words, more legislative teeth has to be given, so that the Penal Debate Corporation, and indeed all 14 municipalities, can move more swiftly to stop it. It is not that there is an unwillingness to stop it, but it is the procedure. That is what, and so that's the first issue. There needs to be legislative reform in respect of those kinds of illegal buildings. It is from the town and country, it has even given us more authority to move swiftly to do what we have to do. It means giving the Land Settlement Agency more authority to move on squatters. And not only in the designated areas, redesignate new areas. Even if you say the whole country becomes part of your remit, you need to do it. Because if the area had not been designated initially, way back in 2000, when the legislation came into being, you can't now go and add. Well, you can go and add, but even that has its own procedure. So I am saying across the board, all the agencies responsible for illegal structures, for illegal buildings and so on, including ourselves and even the Ministry of Agriculture, they need to be given the authority in law to be able to move more swiftly. That's the short term. Secondly, the whole issue of public education. People are building, and they are not building to suit the soil types or the areas in which you are. So you have issues where people will build in an expansive soil and the thing cracks, and it creates problems not only for the builder and more expense in the long term, but also for other people. You have land slippage which you create. People are of the view that you must flatten your land to build. That's a fallacy. I learned something from John Humphrey years ago in Susuland. And he has shown where you can build on slopes. And not only build on slopes, take advantage of the slope and create a second floor at very little additional expense. by building creatively on slopes. And you use the flat land instead for your open area to park and to play and that kind of thing. But we don't do that. So we need to re-educate ourselves on how do I build in this one lot parcel of land which I have, given it's a slope, do I have to flatten it? Because when I flatten it, I create an issue somewhere else. So you don't have to do that. So that's public education. Right. So that needs to be also enforced. The third has to do with this whole issue of dumping. We used to have a campaign years ago in the 60s and 70s, before you were born, where
I was born.
The thing about keep Charlie away and so on.
I know about Charlie, Mr.
Well, you learned that from your father, Charlie. But I'm meaning what you experienced firsthand.
When I was about 5, 6 years old.
Well, yeah, you were 5, 6 years old. And what you had is a situation where it was very effective, but you were targeting primary school children. And people were therefore not throwing. And if they were throwing, the child would say to the father, although at that time you don't dare question your father or mother, but you'll say, Papa, don't, father or daddy, don't throw that dinner. They will pick it up. I see now people who have gone to university, they just casually throw stuff all over the place. Now you want to tell me, you are seeing what are the effects of environmental pollution, you're seeing what plastic is doing to the environment, you're seeing what paper and all, can, stove and fridge now, and they just throw it. And they must know what the impacts are likely to be. Then when you have that swim call, only people who will take tires from you is swim call. So you can't take tires to the dump. They're not going to accept it. And when you go to swim call, you have to pay to give them your tire. So here are tire shops all over Trinidad. In theory, they have a system where they will carry it and pay to dispose of it. But why then are we seeing tires all over the landscape in Penal Lady?
And it's these gaping holes that we need to plug.
And I'm saying that too is a legislative hole.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I thank you, because I'm sure that there are many people who don't even know about what you're saying here right now.
And even they have tried recycling with the tires. I know it's working elsewhere. They've tried recycling with plastics. They've tried recycling with the black bags and so on. We are actually going to hopefully engage the secondary schools where we have the separation bins for these various things, where you put your stuff in that. But even there, you have to have an arrangement with somebody to collect it, to get rid of it. But it's a long process, but it's part of that larger package of education that we need to engage in. So those are short-term things. In terms of long terms, there are solutions, you know, and I've proposed it a number of times.
Please.
The whole issue of what you call retention ponds. Now, there are two major watercourses that course through the Penal Debe region, and they all emanate in the east. So they're in the Princestown area, up in the foothills of the southern range. So they travel across the physical landscape. They hit Barkpaw first. So the first place to flood is Barkpaw. And then all these other roads that are between Barkpaw and Woodland, which is in the west, which is on the verge of the lagoon, they're all affected, as has happened now. And now the water is all down in the west, principally. So it's still in Woodland and waiting now for the tide to go down, and then it drains, and when tide is up, it stays there, and other water keeps coming and heading in that direction. So what do? The whole concept of the retention pond, again I learned that from John Humphrey. You put a set of retention ponds that could hold perhaps 5 million gallons of water. That's not necessarily a large pond. And you place them in strategic points in the low-lying areas, of which we have a lot. And I can take you now to what we call the field road that goes through Wilson Road and connects you to Barkpaw. And I could share one of the two major courses I'm telling you about. And there is land there that Petrotrin has control, that you can create 2 ponds there. And you don't have to create a huge pond, and it doesn't have to be a round pond or a square pond. It could be a linear pond that goes like a river. So people think of ponds as clinically neat pieces of land. It could be something that snakes through. And the good thing about ponds, you could put fish in ponds. Now it's retention. So it retains and then it gradually is let out. It could be let out by pumps, so it could be structured in a way where there's a floodgate, and you raise the floodgate and water is released slowly. So you don't flood anybody. You can also use it for agriculture in the dry season. But you can also create picnic sites, you can create camping, you can put fish, and there are all kinds of economic opportunities you can create around all these retention ponds. And you spot those throughout the environment. And there's space even down in the woodland area where you can put retention ponds. I'm saying, think of 10 retention ponds, each holding 5 million gallons of water. You have 50 million gallons of water retained, so that when the tide goes down and you open the floodgates, because there are floodgates down there, you have $50 million gallons going slowly into the environment. It's not magic. It's not no rocket science, and it's not expensive.
It's political will.
It's the will.
It's the will of the people. Because I'm listening to you and something jumped out at me. I don't know if it jumped out at our viewers as well. You mentioned a name twice, Mr. John Humphrey.
A genius.
Which means, and I would have remembered some of the stuff that he spoke about very passionately about housing and the environment and so forth. Which means that these things that are being said of Mr. Samia are not new.
No.
Right?
Over 30 years, 40 years.
So my thing is, where's that will? You know, we were speaking this morning about, let's just take a classic example, how we construct roads in this country, and we don't do futuristic planning. We just slap a road on the down as like we're slapping our own selves, because at sea level we're not putting any proper in terms of infrastructure to make sure the road is, or build bridges or nothing. If we build at sea level and everything is all right, and when things happen, we then want to rent a machine or rent this and rent that, when we can actually think as in more long term. So 30 years plus, where's the will?
Well, some people are doing it. In fairness to the NHA, for example, what they have done, HEC they call them now, what they're doing now in a lot of the settlements, they are actually creating ponds. So if you are driving along the M2 ring roads, you will see a retention pond, or detention pond. It's detaining, not retaining forever and ever. And you will see it in some places, the price mart, for example, on the road to the creek. If you go there on the left-hand side, you will see where there is a pond, a deep pond.
But what you're saying is something that should be done
nationally.
Exactly. So
and the thing is, you can use that water also for other purposes. It could be used for agriculture, but for drinking, if you take that very same water and you treat it, where in the crop time, as they say here in the country, in the dry season, where people are dying for water, and water deliveries are part of our budget, a major part. Just carrying water to people's homes, you can make that water available also. It's not far-fetched, it's done in other parts of the world. Why we like to copy, why can't we copy that? So the will is not there. The planners, we have very good planners in Trinidad, you know. I have come to understand that we have excellent people in Trinidad.
Something is going wrong somewhere.
The ability to put it on paper, we have that too. So you will see excellent plans. I have plans here for the development of Pinal de Bay. The execution is where the problem is. And you find there's never ever enough resources. Even when you have plenty money, they don't have enough resources for that. You know, that go come now in time, but you never have enough resources.
Not even a particular government, because as you mentioned, this is 30 years ongoing, so you have various governments would have changed hands from the NER to the PNM to the UNC. Some cases, you know, they would have come again, left office. And I just want to bring this point, if you don't mind responding. Of course, there are those who have been claiming that either sides have been using this recent disaster for political mileage. First, it was labeled that the opposition is doing it, and then they said the PNM. How do you respond to such claims that the various entities and the corporations that they are affiliated with have been using this to score political points?
People look for evidence on the ground, infrastructural evidence, by and large. Quite apart from things like hospitals and schools and police stations and vehicles and so on in the government service. But people who are living on a day-to-day basis want to know that they are comfortable and they're happy. The evidence, that what makes them happy is good transport systems. They want to make sure the bridges are all right, the drains are all right, and so on. In fairness to the last government, they did a lot of work in infrastructure, unparalleled, I believe, in the history of Trinidad and Tobago and all over the country, in areas you would not believe. I'm also still in Susulan involved, and I have cause to go all over the place. So I've seen it. And when I was in the LSA, I've seen it. Now, some people don't like to hear that, but that's the reality. So a lot of good infrastructural work was done, and they were executing some of these physical planning things I'm talking about. Well, there's no indictment on any government. Other governments don't do it with the same willingness and with the same alacrity. And they don't do it in the same widespread manner in which the past government did it. So I want to say there is a slight difference in terms of the willingness to go out and do things, execute on the ground, put down infrastructure, fix things, and so on. And that's the strength, if you wish, of the former government, the UNC government. However, it doesn't mean that we have to now say, well, look, it's a different government. It must stop. It must not stop. We must continue to execute along those lines. You may say, well, they had resources. So, all right, you try to create with what you have and fix. I mean, we're not even patching potholes, unfortunately. And we have now, it's going to cause problems. It means journeys then to different places are lengthened. And journeys lengthened means more time wasted. It means more fuel consumed. It means more pollution and so on. So it's all, as you had started to say, it's holistic, it's integrated. It has to be a package of things that makes the difference, not one thing here and one thing there. So if I talk about retention ponds, for example, or detention ponds, I am saying can't just you dig a pond. It has to be all the other things that go with it. The slow release, the feeding of the farmers with water in the dry season. It is cleaning water, it is camping, it is creating economic opportunity. So it cannot be done in isolation. It has to be all of that. All I can say is let's hope that over time more and more politicians understand the wisdom of that kind of physical planning.
I really hope so.
Quite apart from their financial planning and cultural planning and social planning and so on, you need to focus a lot more on the physical planning.
Because I believe, and then, I mean, it's an economical fact. I mean, if you invest the money long term, you will save more than if you try to just do these quick fixes.
That's correct.
As we call them, and you see, that's why I said I'm not against the situation with the pumps and so forth, but I'm just simply saying when you do the math and you add up the rental of some of these pumps, and it's like, if we did something, take that money and invest long term, years down the road, you will see the benefit. And I'm really, that's why when you mentioned Mr. John Humphrey, I had to laugh. I'm like, okay, this is nothing new.
let me mention one more thing that I've mentioned at this point, and that's farming. Farming is critical to our support.
Which, of course, is being badly affected.
It's so badly affected. I don't think people understand how bad. I mean, Brett came and then people said, well, we are resilient, we will plant again, which they have done. And then they have lost it again. And this is only in a 5-month period. And they have lost animals too. And I don't know if the state is sufficiently responsive to their cries. I don't know how much they have got. I've been speaking to farmers. They say we never saw the Ministry of Agriculture. If they came, we got very little and so on. So people are saying, well, there's a chance you take. There's a risk you take. But if the risk is created by the lack of willingness of the state to address the major problems which caused their loss in the first place, then something has to be wrong, and they need to be compensated in that context. If everything was done and the state had everything properly in place, and then they were poor farmers, then there's an excuse. And then there's another fallacy that says that farmers are planting only on riverbanks. That's nonsense. There are farmers on riverbanks, and they should not be there. But there are farmers who are planting legally within their own compounds, 1 acre, 2 acres, half acre, one lot, and they have lost. And there are hundreds of farmers who have lost millions of dollars, and you can imagine millions of dollars lost in June. And then here we are in October, and millions again of the same farmers have lost out. One fella in Barkpole lost 20,000 chickens. He never saw the Ministry of Agriculture, and that's in the last one. He said he lost about similar amount again this rounds. He has to use his own money to put it back. Now you could say he's a big fella. He could take the bunks. What about the small fellow who's minding 500 chickens or something, of which there are many, and goats and so on. A fellow told me he lost a goat. I mean, one goat may seem like nothing, but when you have only 10 goats, you have lost 1/10 of your investment. So it's a big thing, because he's counting on that revenue, sometime for Christmas maybe, to help his family to sustain itself. So the farmers, I mean, the farming community has been very, very badly treated. It continues to be badly treated. I don't know what, well, I know what could be done, but the willingness is not there.
One thing I want to achieve through this interview, and several others that we've done, is for us to take off our political blinders and really see beyond the red and the yellow and the green and the blue and whoever else we have out there, and hear what Mr. Sammy and others are saying in terms of these proposals, because again, these proposals that he mentioned came through discussions, it came through consultation, it came through a meeting of minds. And I think once we understand that and we remove these barriers, then there would be a free flow, no pun intended, to the water, but there would be a free flow of ideas and solutions that will not cause, as I'm using plenty puns here, a backup and flooding of our resources and flooding of our country, quote unquote, because that's what's been happening. We have been allowing too many political barriers, social barriers, ethnic barriers, racial barriers, and being very open. And because of that now, the flooding is not just physical, it's spiritual, it's otherwise. And we are drowning in our mess, because we just don't want, somebody might say, oh, because this is a UNC control area, then I don't want to hear Mr. Sammy. What nonsense are we saying? Lord forgive me. No, and that's the thing.
I'll tell you something. When we extended our hand to Dominica very willingly, I thought that was very laudable. I welcome that. And then at the same time, I'm saying here I'm sitting as chairman, and in June I asked for one excavator from the Ministry of Works and one excavator from Ministry of Agriculture to clean their water courses, and I've not got either. Since June. And here I see our hand extending to the north. And I'm saying, let's look at Trinidad and Tobago as one father and one mother. And we are the children living in the south. You are extending your hands outside of Trinidad and Tobago, which we applaud. But you can't extend your hands south, and you can't give us 2 excavators. And even if 2 excavators are rented at $3,000 a day, and you have it for 10 days, and in both instances, you are talking maybe $500,000 over a period of time to have prevented a lot of millions of dollars of losses we have experienced now in October. If we got those 2, I'm not saying it's the only solution. I'm saying it would have helped tremendously. And then you seeing people extending their hand north, and people are saying, look at them, they don't want to help their brothers, but we are also the brothers and we are also sisters. So there's tremendous emotional pain, that people are experiencing in Penal de Bay that is not understood in Port of Spain. And they are saying, well, why are they like that? Then Nimakaram, they're ungrateful and so on. Why are you ungrateful, and why can't you give us 2 excavators? We're not asking for £1 and a crown. And that's all we asked for. We in Penal de Bay, others would have asked for other things. And we didn't get it. And we still have not got it.
And those those in the belly of the pain will experience it. I mean, it's even also biblical in terms of, God will not send you out to minister on the outside if it is that you cannot minister in your own home first. That's something that we learn as a principle. It's a biblical principle. Minister your own home first and take care of the family that God has given you. And then, of course, once you can succeed in that, then He would send you outwards. And again, I hear what Mr. Sammy is saying, and I understand his pain and others. And even I do support Dominica as well. But I also hear what he's saying. So it's about being...
Let me explain one more thing, that people can't make that link. And that is the issue of stress. Children are stressed out, And how do I know that? I asked my wife, who's a school teacher in Penal. And she says it's amazing how stressed people are, knowing that they have lost everything in their home. So they've lost their books, their clothes, their TV, their fridge, everything. And they have to come to school and be asked to concentrate on geometry or algebra or whatever it is, the agricultural science and so on. And their mind is home. And they now internalize that pain or that stress, and they have to live with that. And what are the consequences of that? From speaking with doctors, it leads to all kinds of things, including organ failure and so on over time. If you're constantly, as a people, under stress, like people probably are in war conditions, people in the Gaza and so on, you can imagine how it impacts on your psyche and your whole makeup as a human being, just from stress and what it does to you and your whole physical being, but your mental being. And that's something you can't see, it's not visible. Yes. But it manifests itself sometimes in errant behavior, people they're not fitting in, they're backward, they're answering questions, they're back answering and so on. And people say, look at them, see, they're bad. And people not understanding, well, they are really reacting to what has been imposed on them by their environment and by their adults and by our lack of ability to take care of our environment and our people, because we have failed as adults. And we have failed them, and we have created stress for them. And when they get on, we say, look at how they're getting on. Right. We wasn't so when we were small. But we didn't have those kinds of issues. And we want to put that into the public domain, because people are not factoring what stress is being caused. And of course, the mothers and fathers. I mean, they're also under tremendous pressure and pain. So those are the kinds of things I'm saying when I mention emotional pain. Those are the kinds of things that build up in people, and the resentment that builds up, because they're seeing Prime Minister unwilling to come, he will go somewhere. So what about we? We're not people too. And I'm not only Penal de Bay. I'm talking about generally in South Trinidad.
I think that most people in South,
I don't think people who are not of the Caribbean understand that,
Mr. Samuel, thank you very much for your time and for your openness, your honesty, and transparency in addressing these matters, and even the recommendations that you would have made. I'm really hoping that those in authority, again, whoever who have ears to hear will hear. And the same thing, who have eyes to see will see. And at the end of the day, I think I know that your heart is in the right place.
Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and you can't see it, but my toes crossed. That something will happen.
Well, I'm trying to cross my shoes.
And thank you for having me, and thank you to your viewers.
Any closing remarks, let's say to the
Well, all I can say is, yes, we still need help. We still need dry goods. We need comfort packages for young ladies. We need, of course, mattresses and pillows and so on. There'll be a point at which we need no more. I don't think we have reached that threshold yet,
right,
because people are still requesting. One generous donor, and I can say who he is, Mr. Ashmid Ali, has offered us 100 mattresses. And he also gave out a lot of food, but he's not the only one. Various Hindu groups, Muslim groups, lots of groups have responded magnificently, and to them we're very grateful. The Ramai Trace Hindu group didn't hesitate. Within the first day, they brought out 100 meals for us, and even other religious organizations have been giving us a lot of support, and I want to thank them.
In terms, just quickly, in terms of school children, are you all in need? Are you getting requests from families in the books and?
We certainly have requests for book bags, for books, for they've lost a lot of things. So yes, there's certainly a need for that. We have to manage it though, because we don't want people rushing in. So if somebody says, look, I want to donate 100 book bags or 50 book bags, we can refer them to the school, or we can say we are the point at which you bring the information, and then we'll send you out. So
the school can bring information to you all. And
yes, so you don't have to physically bring it here. You can go and directly and give it to the people. Right. We have no problem with that. But she's tried to do it through us.
So
and
they can identify who most
so we can tell them where to go. And they can get me at 682-2751. 682-2751. I have no problem with that.
All right. Well, now your phone has to bring it off the hook. So thank you again.
You're more than welcome.
Blessing to you and your team, your entire staff, and all those in the Pinal Davie Regional Corporation. The corporation is a very, very vast area, and we are going to keep you in our prayers right here on ACTN, The Voice on Cloud.Nine. I am Sheldon Yearwood.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
It is now 10 a.m. on Wednesday. That's just a couple days after Tropical Storm Brett, or the conditions rather of Tropical Storm Brett, hit Trinidad and Tobago. And where I am right now is in the Barrackpore area. And as you see, even though the storm has passed, we still have a storm to deal with, as there's now rising waters in our various rivers. This is in Barrackpore. And as you can see right around us, because of the various banks that have burst over the last couple of days, the last 48 hours or so, this is what is happening. So this is just, how should I say, an insight of how grave this problem really is. And we are going to make our way through Barrackpore and other areas in South Trinidad to see exactly how people have been affected by, the aftermath of Tropical Storm Brett. And we use this opportunity to ask anyone out there, if you can help anyone at this time, please give us a call. We are going to highlight some of these cases to you as we make our rounds today. So keep it locked. What's your name?
Abetan and Mongrove.
Right, exactly what happened on the night when the storm passed?
It was about like 11 to 12 o'clock in the night. Yeah, well, I went up by my son. I heard this hard breeze, so I ended up running by my little son to sleep. Well, I got up in the morning, the whole roof was off the house. Yeah, and, well, I go on by the counselor. Well, me and Michi, she said she got down in the rockwood saying about people, and so May get to talk to Shane.
So today is Wednesday. Are you saying that you have not met with her at all since?
I never see she up to now.
Right. So what exactly did, now the roof came off, so what exactly did you lose? Because obviously things would have gotten...
Yesterday I got on my son-in-law and I get a little too Josie and a little too short pants and everything just soaking wet. Right now I hanging it up to dry and things. Next my neighbor house too. Right now, well, he hold one going the last and about 20 of them come to try to knock it up back kind of way. But he matches and still outside. He matches and still in them car out and drying and things. Yeah, and he's a man about 5 or 6 years old too.
So what exactly help are you looking for right now?
Well, if I could get like a little hamper or like need a little mattress, something else. It's so cute, take a little while to dry back now. So you go dry back, but it close and I go dry it back and you go be, you know, like a little hamper, everything wet up, a little state now. Right?
Well, we have your number, so we keep in contact with you, right?
Okay, I'm from Manahal Trace.
All right, so we are here at Canai Road in Barrackport. Now, there are one of two ways of actually getting through. Either you're a good swimmer, but I would advise it because flood waters get sick, or you have to wait for a tractor. That's how bad things are right now in this area. And I'm here with the chairman of what called as the Princestown Regional Corporation. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And I know this has been quite a tedious task, trying to get to people who are in need of aid. Tell us what's been happening since the storm conditions hit on Monday night. What have you been hearing? What have you been seeing on the ground?
Well, throughout the region, yesterday I spent most of the time in the Tablan and the Williamville area. I was down in this area about 6 p.m. yesterday evening together with the Member of Parliament for Princestown. However, there was no way we could have passed through. So I thought by this morning I would have been able to go through and see what assistance we could be assisted with. But up to this morning, I was shocked that I still cannot get in.
All right.
Some of the areas here.
But I am certain that, okay, I saw a tractor just went in, so I gather that's the main means of transport at this time. So,
we tried with the corporation vehicle, and we couldn't, we went a distance, and we had no choice but to come back.
So what have you, what for those you've been able to meet with, what are some of the needs that they have right now? What are some of the damages that you've seen?
Well, so far is we was able, in some of the areas where the flood went down, we was able to assist through the regional corporation because some people who live at the downstairs apartment lose everything. Totally flood out. We assisted through the corporation with a hamper, mattresses, but that is about that we could give tarpaulins like that. So far, no assistance from central government. We had no assistance from central government to say coming in with any equipment, so any assistance to give us. In fact, one of the problems you're seeing here is that if you drive lower down, you will realize that all this water have to channel to just about a 8 feet box crossing that cross the road. And since we have the People's Partnership have lost the election, this area was never dredged. None of the rivers in this area was dredged.
Therefore, it cannot take that, depending on the level of rainfall and the amount of water, it cannot take the pressure at all.
And apart from that, the natural water courses in the area, normally we would be dredging it every year through the Ministry of Drainage. So far, for the last year and 18 months, nothing was done in this area.
This tractor that I saw going in there, that's a private tractor, I believe. All right, and that's one of the challenges, I'm sure, because again, you need clearly more than one to help have an effective flow, to get stuff in and out.
That is the only transportation the villagers had been using up to yesterday, and I understand around all 2-3 o'clock yesterday, not even that was able to go through.
All right, well, we are gonna do our best to see how we can assist through ACT and The Voice. That's a Southern television station. Through our various churches that we are affiliated with, and of course by highlighting the cases. What are the areas in this part of Barrackport, from your information, that have been badly hit?
Well, there is we have the Kanhai area, the entire Kanhai area. The Kunjal area was badly hit. Nanan Trace, as they enter this area, all the regional corporation traces, which is really most of the areas apart from the main road, are corporation roads, are badly.
Those are the areas where you say the drain, there was no dredging of the drains, and there was no, for the water to be channeled properly, there was nothing done, you said?
Exactly, because normally we get assistance from Ministry of Drainage, and as I said, for the last 18 months, nothing was done in this.
Let's hope this is a wake-up call. I mean, we should. I always make the point that sometimes I believe that we're sleepwalking in this country, and certain things that must be a priority, we tend to sleep on it. So let's hope that this is a serious wake-up call for whoever it is that's responsible to deal with the matter at hand, where the drainage is concerned. As we say, the world is moving forward, but sometimes we're moving backwards. And we have to develop, as development takes place in a country, so the infrastructure as well must also improve and develop. So thank you very much. What's your full name, please?
Gori Rupnarain. Gori Rupnarain.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. All right. So we are still in the Barpo area, and as you can see, many families are still grappling with the effects of Tropical Storm Brett. So making our way, waddling our way through the water onto dry land, and we're going to visit this family here. So this is Nana and Trace. We are one of the homes that was badly affected by the flooding. So what's your name, please?
Glory Chandravan.
Right, let's walk us through. Tell us exactly what we're dealing with here.
Well, this is the room, right? Well, the whole thing, everything here was, you see, the water height was. Yeah.
2 feet.
Yeah, the water height is inside there. And everything soak, everything wet up and soak up and whatever. So we now start to bail water from here.
So about 2 feet of water was actually displaced.
Yeah, you see the water level here. Yeah. Everything soak, all the couch and everything here was soaked. The water was draw clothes and whatever. Yeah, everything. The fan was in the ground, so I cannot plug on the fan. Yeah, everything. Yeah, DVD. This is how the kitchen was.
This is actually a picture of the kitchen. This would have been the night after the morning after.
Plastic concrete, yeah. This concrete was level height, and we looked at the back here. So we suspect the tank, everything was just thing. All in the back here, right through to the back. It was real bad. We still have to clean up. Yeah. And this is the downstairs there.
So you're like just.
Yeah, we don't know what to do.
Did you all sleep at all since Monday?
Because it was real thing. We tried to clean up and thing over here, but while yesterday our truck was coming help we bailing out the water, but while we was bailing out, the water still coming back inside because it was over the concrete tank.
What are some of the challenges you all have with drainage in this area? Because I'm seeing
poor drainage because if we just have a little narrow drain, so just to pull the water out there. If we get a bigger drain, it will help, and then in front the drain block and all.
So therefore, outside of the effects of Tropical Storm Brett, once you get heavy rainfall, let's say within an hour's time, you're gonna flood.
Not is now an hour. I tell you, my brother was by me yesterday morning and he gone, and in about 2 minutes my son come toilet to go back home because he wife can CPAP. In 2 minutes time, when he gone in the car and he go to reverse back, he couldn't make at all. So in 2-3 minutes time, water just batch up over here all the time. But first time we get this is the biggest flood inside, eh? Honestly, go through, we get water, but not plenty inside. We get inside, but not as this time. Yeah.
So one man talked to my ear saying, what was your experience with this whole flooding situation?
Not good.
What you lost?
Didn't really lost anything.
Yeah, this is my grandson. He come by.
He came to help.
Yeah.
But we get real snake. We get plenty snakes and centipede. Yes, lots of snakes.
Yes, I heard there was visitation of some friendly neighborhood pets. Pets, not I was going to say pests, but pets. From oh my goodness. Wow. What are some of the things that you will need right now? Well, we are here from ACT and The Voice to see how best we can assist by, meeting with different churches and so forth. What's the help you need right now?
Yeah, all groceries and things.
That's the ultimate. That's the first to have food.
I don't know my machine working or not because my freezer was floating. So I don't know nothing the freezer working, but I think he just plug it on. Yeah.
Please, we don't want any tragedies, all right?
Okay, yeah. Well. Yeah, plenty. My stove. I don't know if my stove working. The stove, we now move out the stove from there, and we try to thing. But me, I cook no lunches yet, so I really don't know.
Well, I know right now you won't have much of an appetite. So I know that for sure.
Yes, we didn't have no water and all. We couldn't put on the pump. The pump gone. We couldn't put on the pump, so we ended up using about nearly 2-3 kegs of bottled water. Yes, I had to cook and drink and whatever. So it was real hard. Yeah, the water comes real dirty this morning. We have water in tank, but we couldn't put it on because it's not going upstairs and it's not going because the downstairs was full of water, so we cannot open the tank to come and drink the water. So we only had to drink bottled water yesterday and cook with bottled water. So,
you still need more water, I gather.
Yeah.
And the coral snake, rat snake, and Santa P, real Santa P. But we have chemical now, he brings some chemical we just probably place. So as soon as we don't wash it down, we're going to start to spray it up on him.
Make sure and keep the children safe as well. Yeah, for real. Because, yeah.
Them living day, them supposed to go home and them can't go. Yes, I lost a day working like I come out to go to work. Where you go? That is it, you know.
It's important to keep everybody
safe.
David? Well, no, I think David, David, my trace back and get real good. My trace get real good. Because my sister-in-law, I'm getting, my brother get it. They move out and then stay by
We are here in Ramlal Trace. This is also in Barrackpore, and a family of 6 is now thanking God today that they're alive through the heavy winds and rains and so forth. The winds swept away part of their roof. That's over their kitchen, and it could have been a whole lot worse. So they're really grateful today to be alive and together. And we hear one of the members of the family. What's your name, please?
Brandon. Mahadio.
Mr. Brandon, please walk us through the events from Monday night straight up to today, Wednesday. What happened on that night, and what are you all, dealing with today in terms of assistance and so forth?
Well, obviously, a lot of rain, real wind. The whole place has real turn up. And that's suddenly, let's say, one loud crack, the roof blow out, and everything was more getting worse. We thinking that the whole thing would have come off, and we just tried to cover as much as we could cover it and block off. It was a lot of wind though.
Let's walk by the kitchen area because I just want to show something here, because I think the kitchen, from what I gather, has been hit the hardest. So tell us, so this is what's happening in the kitchen here. So everything totally destroyed. And I said it's yourself and your wife and your children and your mother. So how much of you all? It's about 7, 6? 7 of you all? Okay. All right. So what sort of assistance do you all need at this time? Well, I know you haven't seen your counselors yet. Any word as to when they may come?
This basically what happened to get the assistance help out this year. And with the toilet as well. Toilet man. Yeah.
So everything is outside now. All utensils, as you can see, Nicholas, everything is outside. Utensils, everything. Yeah, because of what happened to their kitchen area. So that needs repairing, and so again we're seeking the assistance of anyone who can assist with helping them get their kitchen area back up and running. In terms of the toilet area that was flooded out as well, can you use it at all?
No.
Wow. All right. All right. So this is the situation here at Ramlal Trace in Barapur. From what we understand, the councillor is making rounds, and they were at Kanai Road, I believe. So let's pray and let's hope and pray that they make it into your area. We are praying for no more rain.
Really watch it drain there. In front, all this water going to the main river. You understand? And that is the main river. And that river was cleaning, drenching.
It's the same complaint that the chairman had that I think about 18 months ago they made a request to dredge the drains here and nothing has happened.
Nothing has happened for a long while down here. You understand? Nothing. And he said, well, they go come.
He came and he said they will do the Pisa River, the drain. Yeah, the councillor for the area, he say he will do the drainage. He have it on his phone, and he say he go do it, but he never came back. He doing other drain right there, and they do it here.
See, the water was too small now, boy. You know? You understand the pull? Because they do a part there a couple of years now, and they say we're going to finish it out, and they never come back to finish it out.
You know, sometimes God allow these things to happen for us to really see, you know, it's for to bring these problems to the fore so it can be addressed. So let's look at it as a blessing in disguise.
You understand? They do a piece for us over there, and just this piece to bust out here. You know, to pull the water now from all in the back here. So watch this piece. You see? Yeah. Just this piece by my mom there, straight out here to the main river.
Which means that the thing is because of the narrow entry and exit point, if you get another, let's say, half an hour of rain again today or tomorrow, it's just going to come again because there's no...
Yeah, look. Yeah. You understand? Because you have a small tunnel, they can pull the water. If they do like how much... Come on, let me show you how far.
Right, okay. Yeah, that's where they stop.
Yeah. Yeah, they stop right there. You understand? This water, all this water from all the back by we here, just come through here and come down here. And go to the main river there.
So where could accommodate a flow here from time reach?
Yeah, there's flow, there's flow.
Bottleneck here and actually just, so that's it. So that's a back. It goes back now and everything.
Yeah, all in the back, right around this. If you really, all in the back so full now. Yeah.